Well, I suppose everybody, are we ready to get started?
Yeah, let's get rolling.
All right, so Jeopardy never really lasts long, so today we are going to give you all a real quick overview of the ethics case of the year and do a little bit of ethics just for fun. How many do we have? I think most of you are AICP or thinking about it, right? Okay. So Angela, feel free to hop in whenever you would like, but today it's myself and Angela as your hostesses, and we'll just do a quick refresher on our planning ethics and then go through a couple of these scenarios, not all 7 of them, just for time purposes. And always a disclaimer, these are just scenarios, and if you have a question for your own situation, don't forget to call the ethics officer. So to start, the AICP Code of Ethics has the 5 different areas: our aspirational principles, the rules of conduct, and then the processes basically of getting an opinion, filing an official complaint, and discipline. And then there are our APA's ethical principles in planning, to which all participants in the planning process are to utilize or use as a guide for themselves and everybody else who participates in the process of planning, so that we have a set of principles that we hold in common together with planning commissioners, elected officials, and anyone else who participates in the process. Which, remember, the planning process is there to serve the public interest. It requires a consciously held view of the policies and actions that best serve the entire community. We need to maintain high standards of integrity and proficiency, use independent judgment, disclose personal interests, no gifts or favors, avoiding conflicts of interest, don't misrepresent facts, respect the rights of all persons, and improve planning competence, always providing a high level of professionalism, never committing wrong acts, contributing time for groups lacking planning resources, treating others fairly, etc. So then APA gave us this slide, the ethical misconduct cases from last year. They had 19 in total that were submitted. They had 7 cases that were dismissed with no preliminary charges filed, 2 cases dismissed after charges were filed. They settled 10 cases. 8 of them were for the misuse of the AICP credential, and 2 disciplinary actions left were confidential letters of admonition. Disclosure of confidential information was one, and the other was the secondary employment and special advantage, which violated rules of conduct 4, 5, and 14. I always like looking at this every year when APA updates it of the topics that the misconduct cases and informal inquiries were about. And this year, the number 1 was quality of practice, then conflicts of interest and confidentiality. Those always seem to stick out to me as the topics that get to the top of the list every year. As well as the number of people that misuse AICP credential. Just me, I find it interesting that that seems to come up every year as well. Angela, got anything?
No, yeah, the misuse of the credential just kind of, that it comes up every year is kind of surprising because it shouldn't.
Right, you would think, but So it's always a good reminder not to misuse your AICP credential. All right. Cases of the year by region. You can see we didn't have any in Wyoming, 1 in South Dakota, 1 in Utah, 7 out of Colorado, 2 in Idaho. So that's probably a good thing for our West Central chapter that we'd all be a part of. And so then we'll just go through a couple of these scenarios, which they say are largely based on real life situations from 2019 and early 2020, though all names and locations are fictional. Scenarios were derived from informal inquiries or misconduct complaints reviewed by the ethics officer and the ethics committee. So I'll start with an introduction of our cast of characters. Jane, a consultant who is AICP. Lucio, the planning director, is also AICP. Catherine is a small town planner, also AICP. Marcy is our elected official, and our staff planner, Norman, who's also AICP. So Angela, you want to take the first one?
Sure. So Marcy's a restaurant owner, and she's a member of the Coastaville City Council, and she sends an email to Lucio, the planning director, asking about conditional use permits because she's concerned about a pet grooming store that's opening next to her restaurant. So Lucio tells the pet owner about the email, and the next time the owner sees Marcy, he yells at her and accuses her of trying to stop his business.
So what do we think about that?
So when Marcy asks Lucio why he told the owner about the email, he says it was because she's an elected official and that was public information, but she mentions that she asked on her restaurant email, not her city council email, and she said that the owner hadn't made any requests for the emails. So she says that the comments made by the pet store owner have had a negative impact on her business.
Uh-oh. So let's open the discussion up to everybody. And don't forget to unmute yourself. The first question, was Lucio correct in disclosing this information to the applicant?
Great question. This is Chris Newbecker. I'm the planning director in Teton County.
Hi,
Nice
Chris.
to meet you. I can turn my speaker on. I had my video turned off because I was eating my lunch.
That's perfectly fine.
This is a great question because, you know, the information is public if someone requests it, but I think it's a little bit beyond, you know, to offer that information to somebody. To me, when somebody contacts you with information, there's not necessarily an expectation from that person that you're going to then share that information with anybody. While it's correct that that information is discoverable via an email, it's not necessarily something we should just go ahead and offer to people. But I'd be interested to hear what the others say or what the real answer is.
I agree. What does everybody think too about the mayor or the city councilwoman saying that she inquired of Lucio from her personal email, not her council email?
I don't think it matters, but yeah, I agree with Chris. Generally how I've dealt with this situation is either saying we were contacted by a neighbor or contacted by a concerned citizen and leave it at that. But yeah, I guess if they did ask for who, I would give it to them. So yeah, I guess I would say Lucio is correct, but not normal.
I agree. I like that. Definitely just letting them know, hey, I've had some inquiries from people, you know, just be aware that these may be issues that could come up at a planning commission meeting or a city council meeting. That's a good idea. And yes, we'd have to disclose who sent it if they asked, but offering that right up front. You know, I don't think if you don't have to, you know, it's maybe not something you have to do right away.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's see. So did Lucio violate the AICP ethics code in disclosing this information? What do you guys think?
I say no, it was not a violation.
No? Let's see. So they say,
I would say as long as the director is disclosing all information though, like all comments, not just picking and choosing just a single one.
right. So the aspirational principles that they want us to look at are 1A, that we should be conscious of the rights of others. B, that we should, 1B, special concern for long-range consequences of present actions. And 1H, shall deal fairly or even-handedly with all participants in the planning process. And then the applicable ethics code under the rules of conduct would be number 7. Not used to our personal advantage, information gained in a professional relationship. We should recognize as confidential because its disclosure could result in embarrassment or detriment to the client or employer. So I think this is interesting, the outcome that they give us. In the real life case on which this scenario is based, the ethics officer and the committee both agreed that he should not have disclosed the information, that by doing so, they said he'd caused embarrassment to Marcy, thus it was a violation of rule number 7. Lucio received a confidential letter of I can't say that word today, and the case was closed. So
Seems weird to me that, because any comments that come in should be disclosed to the owner so that they're aware of them, so that maybe they can have a rebuttal to them. And maybe he shouldn't have said who it was from at first, but they have the right to know. So how could, I don't know. That's interesting.
right. Good. I'd say that's one that's applicable to a lot of us, and good thing to remember as we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So scenario 2, Jane, a consultant, that's AICP, learns that Lucio, the planning director, is blaming her for the recent defeat by city council of a sub-area plan she worked on. In a meeting, Lucio tells the mayor that Jane's firm should never be hired again. Jane hears this from Norman, who knows the plan's failure was due to Lucio's poor political skills. Norman, who works for Lucio, was in the meeting. Because Costaville has been a major client of Jane's firm, Lucio's statement to the mayor will have a major impact. Jane decides to file a complaint of ethical misconduct against Lucio, citing a violation of rule number 10 of the AICP ethics code. Unfortunately, there is no proof of what Lucio said to the mayor, and because Norman says he cannot step forward to attest to what was said in the meeting, the complaint is dismissed. So rule number 10 says that we shall neither deliberately nor with reckless indifference misrepresent the qualifications, views, and findings of other professionals. So the first question is, did Jane have a good basis to file an ethics misconduct complaint against Lucio? Charles, I should have used your little voting app and let everybody vote on these.
Last time we used, yeah, that would have been great. Last time we used that, but we got Zoom bombed. So
That is true. What does everybody think on this one?
I think it's a definite yes.
Yeah, this is Mark Christensen with the City of Cheyenne, and I definitely think yes too, especially since they're both AICP certified. Jane obviously has that credential from the American Planning Association. So for Lucio to, he doesn't really have the standing to question her professional skills. since she is AICP certified and is keeping that credential.
Or what about, I mean, I guess I find too, where is Lucio blaming Jane, trying to take something off of him?
Yeah, I think Lucio's kind of passing the buck on, to cover his own back.
Then what about the second question? Did Norman have an obligation to cooperate with the investigation and testify to what he heard at the meeting?
Hey, we could use the chat feature if you want to do voting.
Oh, that's true too. Does everybody want to use that? Just, excuse me, type in A, B, or C in the chat real quick. So mostly everyone's saying A. Let's see what APA had to say about it. So they say the aspirational principle would be that we shall describe and comment on work and views of others in a fair and professional manner. And from the ethics code rules number 10, you can't misrepresent qualification, views, or findings. And number 21, we shall not withhold cooperation or information from the ethics officer or the committee if a charge has been filed against us. So, with that, in the real life case, they said no one in the meeting, including at least one AICP member, was willing to corroborate the allegation to the ethics officer, even with the promise of confidentiality. Consequently, after several months, the misconduct complaint was dismissed due to lack of evidence. So, I don't know, how would you feel if you were Jane and Norman tells you that it was said, but then he won't back it up?
I would be, sorry, this is Jillian from Cheyenne MPO. I personally would be super pissed, especially because everyone in this scenario is AICP certified. Has been through training, the test, maintaining that certification, and so to have someone professionally not stand up for something that they know is wrong makes me question their integrity and if they should even be holding an AICP certification at that point.
Right. I guess to me too, as Jane or Lucio, I would question Norman's integrity. You know, he tells Jane one thing, but he then won't back it up because he's afraid of what Lucio might do. I don't know. What does everybody else think?
I think retribution is quite possible since Lucio is the planning director and Norman is one of his planners. So you also have that power struggle between boss and subordinate.
Yes, definitely. Well, that one was interesting. Angela, you want to do number 3?
Sure. So Norman he's AICP and he's a staff planner with Costaville, and he's working on a rezoning proposal for a TOD corridor. And a member of the public tells him he has a conflict of interest because he lives 2 blocks from the TOD corridor. And so the rezoning could increase the value of his own house. So Norman asks Lucio if another staff planner can work on the project because of that potential conflict of interest. And Lucio tells Norman that no, he has to work on it because of staff constraints, but he should disclose everything at all public meetings so that the public's aware.
All right. So, have both planners behaved in accordance with the AICP Code of Ethics? Thoughts?
I think Norman did at least going to his supervisor and saying, hey, you know, I have this potential conflict of interest. Can you take me off of this project?
I agree.
Everybody in the chat says yeah.
Well, I agree that yes, I think they've behaved, but without more of the background on the reasons why, I think it's a little bit of a slippery slope. But I do think him stating he has a conflict was a move that was appropriate. I do think that the other AICP decision, where it basically says that I do believe you can do this, can be respected. I do also believe that him disclosing prior to meetings is appropriate.
Right. That
Yeah.
Norman did talk to Lucio about where he lives and the potential.
And it's still questionable about what Lucio could do. I mean, potentially they could, yeah, there's staff constraints, but maybe he could have taken a little more effort into that and gotten Norman off the project so that there isn't even that hint.
Right. We kind of
Yeah.
discussed the question.
I think it's also questionable about how much value it's going to add to his property. I mean, we're not talking about rezoning one property that he owns. They're talking about rezoning potentially a whole neighborhood. He happens to live in the neighborhood. You know, it's not like there's only one person benefiting from this decision. And if it's increasing property values, that means it's because it's good planning.
True.
So,
Right.
I don't know if it's
I
conflict of
think
interest.
the big thing they're trying to push here, you know, is that avoiding the conflict of interest or even the appearance of conflict of interest. So,
Mhm.
you know, with Norman disclosing it to Lucio and Lucio making him disclose it. They have another one, 3B, on this conflict of interest question. Catherine is the only planner for Bowerville, a small ski town. Her town manager has asked her to develop guidelines for vacation rentals based on the growing number of complaints from community residents. Catherine has owned a second home in Bowerville for the past 5 years, which she often rents out on Airbnb. So do we think Catherine should work on this project?
No, I don't think so.
We're getting a lot of no's in the chat.
Again, this is an interesting question. I mean, is this a legislative issue that the elected officials will decide on? Not a quasi-judicial issue. It's a rule potentially would apply to the entire community. You can always hire a consultant as well. So there are alternatives.
No,
Mhm.
that's a good point about the hiring a consultant. But this, if no, how should Catherine handle the request? Suggest hiring consultant, ask the county planning department to assist, other suggestions. Oh, Jillian said send it to economic development. That's a good idea.
I guess if I was running the show here, I'd go with other. Being an Airbnb participant or owner gives her information on how Airbnb operates and the things that they do. So if they're going to go ahead, it actually makes her the most qualified person to work on an update because she understands the rules and the regulations and everything else that goes along with it. If she follows up with full disclosure, hey, I do own a vacation rental, and that's disclosed, she's not the final decision maker. Planning Commission and City Council are going to make the final decision on the ordinance, not the planner.
That's very true too.
Yeah,
And
that makes a lot of sense.
the rules could potentially be to her benefit or to her detriment, right? I mean, if they enact rules that further regulate Airbnbs or something, she could potentially lose out money.
Yeah, because she's providing a recommendation and she's not the one making the final decision on the rules.
So in the aspirational principles and the rules of conduct, they're, like I said, they're really pushing home the avoiding conflict of interest or appearance of conflict, giving disclosure, and not using the power of our office to seek or obtain a special advantage, that it's not a matter of public knowledge or not in the public interest. So always disclose, disclose, disclose. And here's the outcome they share. After being charged with misconduct based on a complaint by a resident, Norman provided evidence to the ethics officer that he had in advance had notified his supervisor of the potential conflict of interest, and then Lucio had told him to continue to work on the project and fully disclose its ownership interests at all public meetings. Subsequently, the misconduct charge was dismissed. With Catherine was still trying to decide how to best handle her vacation rental issues since the town did not have the resources to hire a consultant. However, she was planning to disclose her property ownership in writing to both her supervisor and the plan commission. So again, going back to what everybody is saying, trying to find other alternatives, or always making sure you disclose any potential conflict.
And in a small office, she may be the only person that could do the work and no one to pass it on to.
Right, yeah.
So it's just a matter of disclosing it, and that should be good enough.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're right. Sometimes they don't have resources for a consultant, or you're the only planner in the office, and then what? Very good. All right, we'll do one more, I think, before we head into Jeopardy. Since this is applicable to all of us lately, virtual public engagement. During the recent pandemic, Costerville moved its public meetings to web-based platforms where public engagement was handled through online forums and chat rooms. With continued concerns about face-to-face interactions, the mayor has told his planning director, Lucio, to use a similar technology for an upcoming sub-area plan workshop. Lucio tells the mayor this will exclude many residents who don't have access to or proficiency with computers. Also, some residents won't be able to access the draft documents. Finally, he says many of the same people who have concerns about affordable housing, which is a key element of the draft plan. Lucio suggests delaying the plan until an in-person workshop can be held. The mayor, however, fearing the loss of state funding for the plan, orders him to go ahead with the virtual public workshop. So, what do you think? Should Lucio obey the mayor and schedule the virtual public workshop?
I don't know. It seems, I don't know, you can't win in this situation. Like, I think, yes, he should schedule it to get, I don't know, yeah, just not to lose the funding, but should definitely offer to reach out, whether that is, informing people by pamphlets so they can find a computer, or having an outdoor session, or I don't know. Yeah, I think there's ways to combat excluding certain people in the public. But yeah, I think he should obey the mayor, though.
This one is difficult.
I agree. I believe that that he should work to try to find ways to include the underrepresented classes. He should evaluate different ways to help facilitate the meeting and allow those people to participate.
Right. I like that. Jillian says too, how likely are you to secure state funding when the plan does not include substantial or equitable outreach and engagement?
Fair.
Very true. Whoop.
Unfortunately, I don't think statistics bear out Lucio's concerns. In most areas, the switch over to Zoom or other public outreach methods virtually, like we're doing right now, has actually increased public engagement dramatically. The same arguments could be made in reverse if you say, no, we're going to wait and have the regular meetings at City Hall. Well, what if I have transportation problems? What if I don't own a car? What if I don't have any of these other things? Okay. Have I done substantial outreach and engagement then by declining the virtual meeting to those people that don't have transportation to and from? Or maybe the meetings are not being held at a time that's convenient for me. There's 1,000 different arguments. And the fact is, online meetings are better attended than face-to-face.
Those are very good points. I like that.
And it's funny because I was in an office a couple years ago that people wanted to be able to call into meetings, and it was absolutely not. You have to be there in person, and they wouldn't allow written letters to be submitted because nobody could give rebuttal to the person submitting the letter, and it was very strict. And I haven't checked, but I'm curious to see what they're doing now.
Yeah, that is interesting. They always wanted everyone there. How about, what is the key ethical issue facing Lucio as related to the AICP ethics code? What does everybody think?
Just not including everyone within the public, making it unequitable.
I agree. To explore other public engagement options. Because when we look at the code of ethics, number 1, we shall not deliberately or with reckless indifference fail to provide adequate, timely, clear, and accurate information on planning issues. And number 20, that we shall not unlawfully discriminate against another person. But if we go to the aspirational principles, these are the ones they go over. To give information to all affected persons, give people opportunity to have meaningful impact on the development of plans, needs of disadvantaged, and promote racial and economic integration. We shall accept decisions of our employer unless the course of action is illegal or plainly inconsistent with our primary obligation to the public interest. And the rules were 118 and 20. So with that, the outcome was, they said, this scenario was written early during the pandemic and was not based on a real life situation. However, at least one community APA knows of is facing a lawsuit by a group of residents who say they were not able to participate in a plan commission meeting on a controversial project during the pandemic due to their lack of internet access. So something.
Well, Tom, in your advertisement, whatever that normal mode of advertisement is, you can advertise the virtual public meeting, but you could have a sentence: if you wish to participate under other modes of or means, then contact us at this telephone number and we'll figure out how to help include you.
That's a good idea. Or in recent years, I like to read the legals, and I've noticed DEQ will put out notice of documents available, and they add in there, if you don't have access to internet, that you can go to the library, and they name the library in the county of wherever the action is taking place, and they give the address and tell people to go there to access the documents online. So
in Teton County, we have been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, but we also always make our Board of County Commissioners chambers available. And so there's always somebody in there, and there's microphones and there's TV cameras. So sometimes there's one staff member just sitting in there running the Zoom. But if anybody from the public does not have internet access, they're welcome to show up at that meeting where the meetings normally would take place. That would allow them to participate if they did not have internet access. So they would show up as if it were a regular meeting. Nobody else would be there, but they would be able to listen. They'd be able to give testimony in that room while everybody else is at home, I suppose.
That's a good idea.
In a previous jurisdiction that I worked for, with which Matthew Cox works for, we had a disclosure on all of our legal ads, basically saying if you needed accommodations, that you could contact a specific phone number, and then we could evaluate everything independently what a reasonable accommodation was. So if it was a need for a paper printout, we could create that. If it was a need for a CD to be mailed to them or a DVD, we could send it that direction. Or if it was someone that needed like an interpreter or a telephone line or something like that, we could go ahead and arrange for that as necessary.
That's a good idea. Maybe now in the times of virtual meetings, maybe everybody just tack that onto their legal advertisements. Like if you need accommodations for a disability, that's the standard language, right? You need accommodations because you lack internet access or lack transportation or anything. I like that. That's a good idea. I had one more, but I think we'll skip over that one. So we can get to Jeopardy, but just remember, for informal advice regarding ethical conduct, don't contact myself or Angela. Contact the ethics officer, Jim Peters, at that phone number or email, or visit their website. And there's everybody on the AICP Ethics Committee. Karen Wolf is actually in our region. She's in Washington State. And myself and Donna Bai did the ethics presentation in Santa Fe last year with her. She's a really nice lady, so if you ever have questions, she'd be a good person to reach out to. And so with that,
All right, Alex, I'll do general planning for 10.
all right. These are extremely small parks in cities or towns named for this building park.
What is a pocket park?
Oh.
Good job. All right. That was Sarah or Jillian?
Jillian.
Jillian, pick the next.
I'll take parliamentary, my dear, for 10.
Voice, show of hands, roll call, ballot,
Roll call.
or general consent.
What is roll call?
No.
What is voting?
What is voting? Show of hands.
You guys are pretty close. Yeah, methods of voting. Good job. All right.
Who's keeping points?
Yourself. And we did ethics before Jeopardy, so remember to be ethical in how many points you have, right?
1,000 points already. It's amazing.
All right. Somebody pick a next.
I'm putting the video on.
I mean, who got the last?
Yeah, who got the last one?
I know I answered correctly, but I know a couple other folks did too.
Go ahead, pick the next one.
Cool. This is Planning Commission for 10.
In local governments, this group of people make recommendation on what type of land uses occur where.
What is a
planning commission?
Good job.
Who got that, Mark?
Charles? Oh, well, you guys are only picking 10 points. Come on now.
Planning commission. The answer was planning commission.
Was that you, Charles, or was that me?
I don't know. But I'll give it to you. You got it.
Wow, thanks.
We should.
Okay, I want to do general planning for 50.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Ooh, big one.
This urban planner and designer was made famous for his words, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood."
Daniel Vernon?
Who's Robert Moses?
Good job.
Yep.
Boom. We won that award in Cheyenne.
Good
Sorry.
job.
The
Pick another
NPO.
one.
Okay, I'll take ethics for 10.
Applies to all who participate in the process of planning.
What are the AICP ethics?
What is the rules of conduct?
Yeah, whatever.
What are the rules of
No.
conduct?
Yes.
Isn't it the aspirational principles of planning? Wah, wah. Isn't that the Jeopardy sound? That's what we need now, Paul, is the one where everybody gets it wrong.
Is that the right answer? I mean, doesn't the public also participate?
The
Really?
so the public, remember, it's the ethical principles of planning, the principles to which we all aspire. is for everybody. The rules of conduct, ethical rules of conduct, apply only to AICP planner. So the ethical principles to which we all aspire, are ones for everybody.
So you're a negative 40, Mark. Thanks. Not just kidding.
Did you say ethics for 40, Charles?
Sure, ethics
All
for
right.
40.
This is the only person currently authorized to give formal ethics advice.
What is
The ethics officer.
Job. Who
Not
knows
Carl.
his name? I
Oh,
just told you.
Jim?
Good
Is it Jim?
job.
Oh, you got it. Oh,
All right. Okay, pick a category.
Oh, yeah.
Who got that one?
Who got Jim?
Oh, that was me. This is Sam Crowley with Cheyenne. I want to do meetings for 20.
A fundamental right of all members and is given far enough in advance to allow voting members to arrange their schedules to attend.
No, what is notice?
Good job.
Yeah.
All right, pick again.
Now.
Oh yeah.
You get pick.
Parliamentary, my dear. 4:30, please.
It's the motion made to have a temporary stop in proceedings and perhaps send everyone to the playground.
What is recess?
Recess.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, next.
Meetings for 50.
The number of members required to conduct a meeting and approve
But it's a
agenda
quorum.
items is called
Quorum.
this.
It's a quorum.
That was an easy one for 50 points, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one I got.
All right.
I'm gonna do meetings for 30.
When speaking during a meeting, the speaker should address his or her remarks to this person.
Who's the chairman?
Chair.
Good job.
The noisiest person in the audience. Oh, wait.
Oh.
The evil developer.
All right, next.
general planning for 40.
Open space of undeveloped land in a town which is accessible to the public for recreational use.
Park space.
What is green space?
Open space?
Good job.
Killing it.
Oh. Wow.
That's a lucky guess.
All right, next.
I'll do parliamentary, my dear, for 20.
Personal opinions of praise or criticism should not be included in the official records of meetings.
What are the minutes?
What is minutes?
Good job.
Duh.
All right. Kevin?
Let's do parliamentary, my dear, for 50.
Ooh. This is the word meaning to neither agree nor oppose or to not participate in the vote.
What is
What is
abstain?
abstain?
Good job.
Ah! Yeah.
Is there a double jeopardy in here at all?
No, unfortunately not. There should
Okay.
be no, huh? All right, next.
Planning commission for 40.
Preparing comprehensive master plans and recommending plans to city councils and board of commissioners.
What is Tom Mason?
That is the role of the planning commission. I thought it was the planning commission again. I was like, duplicate question. All right, let's try. I'll pick.
I think the correct answer is who is your hired consultant?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. That's right. He got me on that one.
How about 50, planning commission? Telling your friends about new developments that haven't been approved or made public could be considered this.
What is on that?
Ethical ethics violation.
What is confidentiality? Oh, yeah.
Good one.
Unethical. Good job. All right.
This is planning commission for 20.
A distance from a curb, property line, or structure within which building is
The
prohibited.
setback.
What is
Setbacks.
Setbacks.
Yeah,
How does this apply to planning commission?
It's what
yeah, it doesn't.
Good. Because the planning commission could vary the setbacks. You know?
Right. Let's get rid of planning commission. Pre-existing parcels, strangely shaped parcels, or unusual topography.
What are existing non-conforming uses?
Oh,
What's irregular shape parcels?
What are reasons for a variance?
There you go.
Oh, good
Ah,
one.
there you go.
That was an obvious one.
Yeah, how can
Somebody about
topography?
planning commission granting variances from setbacks. So there you go. All right, pick again.
Ethics for 20.
This is the primary obligation of the AIC planner and those who participate in the process of planning.
Do it ethically.
What is to serve the public?
I was going to say, to serve the public interest.
There you go.
All right. I will do meetings for 10.
A question about process or objection and suggestion of alternative process.
What is parliamentary procedure?
Oh, point of order. That should have been the 50 one, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
You guys are my testers on this Jeopardy game anyway. Okay, go ahead, Charles.
I will take general planning for 30, Alex.
Refers to laws passed by local governments which control the type and amount of development in an area. These laws are meant to avoid conflict between land uses.
What is?
Zoning.
What is the zoning and development code?
Yeah, there you
Good
go.
one.
Yay.
A few more.
Ethics for 30.
The time period during which we shall avoid publicly advocating a planning position that is adverse to a position we publicly advocated for a previous client.
What is 3 years?
1 year.
3 years, good job.
Wow.
I wonder, yeah.
Meetings for 40.
Know the purpose, research, review the agenda, ask questions, understand your role.
What is know your
Things the
place?
Planning commission don't do.
I like that. How do we prepare for a meeting?
Wait,
Oh.
hold on. So like Joanne Garnett used to say, it's not good to be a planning commissioner and be like unwrapping your staff report as you sit down at the dais.
That's right. That's right. All right, couple more.
Idea 40.
A motion laid on the table becomes this type of business at the next meeting.
What is previous business or old business?
Good job.
Yay.
What is a bad project? Oh, sorry.
Planning
General
20.
planning for 20.
If you have a complaint about hoarding, vermin, junk cars, or trash, these are the people to call.
What is?
Or code enforcement.
Good job.
Okay, same.
Who are the
All
Gillette
right.
planners?
Or the Gillette planners, that's right.
Who is the most recently hired person on staff?
Exactly.
All right. Ethics for 50. A planner emails the ethics officer to complain that an AICP planner failed to use a sticky flip chart pad at a public meeting.
What is?
What is someone who needs to be terminated?
What is a waste of time?
A frivolous charge of ethical misconduct, which is a rule that you cannot do that. Good job, guys. All right, really quick here. I got a final Jeopardy somewhere. Mark Brendanowitz is the city planner for Pawnee, Indiana for the first 2 seasons of this television sitcom about life in government.
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
This is worth 1,000,000 points.
It's worth, well, I'll tell you the prize at the end.
Oh.
A credit?
What is Parks and Recreation? Everybody got it. Good job.
Yep.
Well, your prize is I'll buy everybody who stayed through all of Jeopardy around at the bar the next time we get to see each other in